I was ashamed of being Indian. It was like living in two worlds. I didn't have an identity. I didn't know who I was. There was one boy in class who would pick on me for the colour of my skin. Oh, did you not have a wash today? Or, oh my God, are you a man or a woman?
It's so sad. Like, honestly, I wonder what he's doing now.
Tell you what he's doing now. I was out in a nightclub. One particular boy kept saying to me, can I buy you a drink? And it was the same boy.
Oh my God.
It was you that made me not want to be who I was. You made me feel embarrassed of who I was. And you made my life hell.
And what did he say?
Well, for those that don't know, I have been doing The Real Housewives of Cheshire now for nearly 10 years.
So how was it when you went to your family and said, I've got this opportunity to join a reality TV show?
Reality TV, it was a massive risk, but I think it was the best thing that I ever did. Been through a lot. Business that I ran for 30 years, all of a sudden it stopped. People, point the finger, oh, she's failed. But at the same time, I'm still filming a reality TV show where everyone's got an opinion, how much it can take you to a dark place. But this is the first time, I'm nearly 53 years of age, that I've been able to focus on me. Now, I just want to do things that are right for me. I've ticked all the boxes for the family, for everyone, but now this is Seema's time.
I'm Lindsey Kane, and welcome to Bedtime Theories. Are you like me? At bedtime, when you're about to fall into a deep slumber, all these questions just pop into your head. What is life? Why are we here? What's my purpose? What is happiness? And is it a choice? So I'm on a mission to unpick all these thoughts and theories that pop into my head and figure out how to live a happy and fulfilled life. So as well as my insights, I couldn't do this alone. I had to invite some incredible guests, some people that I have personally watched over the years and have looked up to and thought, how are they doing what they're doing? So come and jump into bed with me and my guest and listen to Bedtime Theories. So today's episode is going to be on identity and expectations. And I thought, we've had conversations in the past about, your background, Hindu, and your family's Indian. And I wanted to sort of talk about that. So what was it like growing up? Like how, growing up in that culture, and what was it like for you?
Growing up, it was all about the family, Indian, Hindu, Punjabi family. My dad comes from a family of 7 kids. My aunties, my uncles, their kids, everyone would come to our house. Our house was like the party house to be, and again, everything was around getting together, food, drink, everything happened in, my mum and dad. So growing up, I have great memories, but I would say it was like living in two worlds, because at home, you have that expectation of living, this sort of traditional Indian, Hindu, Punjabi expectations that my mum and dad had of me. And more so, I'd say, being a girl. My brothers got away with murder, but for me, it was like, we expect you to be very academic, typically expecting me to be either a doctor, a solicitor, a lawyer, which I never wanted to be. I'm creative, fashion was my thing. You're going to learn how to cook and clean, because by the time you're 21, we're going to have an arranged marriage. We're going to choose a boy for you. So, growing up was like, well, why am I even trying? Because no matter what I'm going to do, it's going to be taken away from me, because they're just going to expect me to get married, have kids. So it was hard, it was confusing, and I felt like I lived in two worlds. One, this traditional Hindu Punjabi world, and then I'm British. I was born in Manchester, so that Western world, going to school with friends. My friends couldn't understand why I wasn't allowed to go out at the weekend, and if I did go out, I had to be home by 9:00. Now you tell me which club gets going at 9. And even if I did ever go out to a nightclub, my dad would be there, at 11:00, right, party's over, you're coming home. It was embarrassing, it was hard. And I think growing up was I didn't have an identity. I didn't know who I was. I wasn't, I was ashamed of being Indian. I had an arranged marriage. I only met my partner, Sandeep, 6 times. How do you know a person in just meeting them 6 times? I wasn't allowed to meet him anymore. As a British Asian woman, you don't have a path. And I didn't know how to be British. It was very, very confusing growing up.
So did you ever go off the rails, like just go mental one day? Having been like that certain expectation put on you culturally and things like that, did you ever just go, do you know what? Fuck this, I'm just going to go mental?
Yeah, did it loads of times actually. I told my parents that I was just staying over at a friend's. I went out, just wanted to be normal. I wanted to fit in. I wanted my friends to like me. So, drank loads, so hungover, came home the next day. I was sick everywhere. My dad didn't let me out for the next month. Of course, you rebel. When you get told you cannot do something, tell me a person that's, who loves to live by rules. No one wants to. Yeah. I did loads of things I shouldn't have done. But do I have any regrets? Not at all. Because I just wanted to fit in.
How did you feel then? You were saying hanging out with your friends and you just wanted to fit in. Did you feel embarrassed, like with your family or what was expected of you? Did you feel embarrassed?
Yeah, I remember there was, I was really ill at school one day and school rang my parents to come and pick me up, and my mum came into school and she came in this bright red sari and she had this huge bindi on her head, and everyone at the school gates are going, oh my God, there's a woman stood out. It looks like she's had a bullet shot through her head. And I'm there thinking, it's my mum. And I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, who's that woman? I don't know who she is. I literally walked out the school gates, walked past my mum and said, don't look at me. I was embarrassed. And now if I look back, and there's one thing I would say to everyone, if I could change anything, I should have been so proud of my identity, but I wasn't, because I wanted to fit in. And I went to a school which was majority was all white. There was only 4 kids in the school of colour, and we were 2 of them, me and my brother. And back then, growing up in the early 80s, well, I was born in the 70s, but yeah, 80s, 90s, it was hard because we just didn't fit in. And, lack of education, the kids just weren't used to it. There's a woman stood outside the school gates in a bright red sari. They'd not seen that. They didn't understand. And that's the problem I sometimes feel the world we live in. It's just, if you don't teach your kids, it's lack of education, isn't it?
And what are you like with your boys then? So obviously they're in the 20s, and is the culture aspect and your heritage, is that really important for the boys?
Yes, I want them to be proud, and I know they're proud of the heritage, but also be proud of who you want to be. I'm not setting any rules for my boys. I'm not saying to my boys, you were going to have an arranged marriage. I had an arranged marriage. I only met my partner, Sandeep, 6 times. How do you know a person in just meeting them 6 times? I wasn't allowed to meet him anymore. It had to be a yes or a no.
Oh my God. And how long have you been married now?
Nearly 32 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you get for a prison sentence now? I think it's about a similar time, isn't it?
He was the first Asian guy that I met that had his own mind, and he was the only person that I think in my life at that time said, what do you want to be in life? What are your goals? 10 years from now, where do you see yourself, Seema? And I knew straight away, oh my God, this guy. First time I met him, he said, look, yes, my parents have an amazing business, but I'm not sponging off my mum and dad. I want to make my own path in life. And that for me really stuck, because growing up as a British Asian woman, you don't have a path. That's moulded out for you. Yes, you can be educated, but where's it going to take you? You get this education, but then they're going to marry you off. And then you're expected to go into this new family life.
You were saying that there was a lot of pressure on you to be academic. So, and you were like, no, I'm creative, the same as me. How do you think that impacted your self-worth at all? The fact that you maybe weren't necessarily academic in the sense that your parents wanted you to be?
You know, at the time, because my parents were so much against me wanting to do fashion. I mean, Dad was like, oh, you know, what career is fashion? You know, I don't know anybody that does that. You're never going to make money doing that. You know, and what's the point anyway? Because we're just going to get you married. But inside, I knew I am going to be the person that's going to break this mould. I'm going to explode if I can't do what I want to do. And growing up in this real sort of traditional family, you know, my mum kept saying to me, look, Seema, you know, just drop it, you know, because your dad's not going to let you do it. And I thought, no, I can't. I'm not going to drop it. I'm going to fight for this. I am going to do it. I knew inside, you know, they're not taking this away from me. And growing up back then, not just being Indian, I think women in general, you know, we didn't really have a voice, did we? And I remember in the late or early 90s, I was obsessed with the supermodels. You know, of the 90s, your Naomi Campbell, you know, Claudia Schiffer, Kate Moss, all these women just had this fight, and I could see they had self-worth, and they just set something inside me. It was like, do you know what? I am going to be them. I'm going to be that woman that is going to fight for what she wants. And I'm lucky because I met Sandeep, and he actually, just speaking to him, I knew this guy is going to let me have my self-worth. He's going to let me be whoever I want to be. And he's going to be my backbone. He's going to give me that fire, that fight to stand for who I want to be. So, yeah.
I think it definitely shows with, you know, the relationship that you both have.
So for me, I feel like Sandeep just encouraged me to be who I wanted to be. And he actually said to me, you will have self-worth. You know, Seema, fight for what you want and do it. What are you afraid of? What's stopping you?
And most of the times it's ourselves.
Yeah.
Out of fear, you know, for everything else. So do you think from where you've come from culturally that anything's changed since when you were little compared to now? Do you think has anything changed? Has it evolved to be better? Have we educated that other generation of be who you want to be, and it's not about just getting married and settling, or, you know?
Oh, it's massively changed. And, you know, I feel I've changed that. I've taught my kids it has to change. They, you know, I am never going to make my kids have an arranged marriage. I don't care if they marry a white person, a black person, an Asian person. They can marry who they want. You know, it's educating them. And I think what it was back then, our parents came from India in the late 50s, early 60s, and they kind of clung on to tradition because they didn't want to upset their families, their parents back home. But we have to break that mould. You know, and I remember as, you know, after I got married and my dad could see, oh my gosh, you know, she is amazing at fashion. You know, what she and Sandeep have created together. He was so proud of me, and he used to say, you know what, I'm really sorry. I should have just pushed you because you're really bloody good at what you do. And you make sure you change that. Change it for your boys. You know, I don't have daughters. But I have taught my boys the importance of respecting women and giving them that opportunity, you know, to have a dream, have that self-worth. It's massively changed now.
And how were your parents, you know, when you had your boys, were they very much on board with your mindset, or were they still quite stuck in their mindset, like, no, Seema, you got to do it how we brought you up? Or were they quite okay with you taking the lead and pushing them to do what they want type thing, or just be free?
Not when I had them straight away. I think what changed, my parents or my kids' grandparents were the kids. They are fearless because I've taught them to be fearless. I've taught them to have a voice. You know, a few months back, I had my in-laws round for dinner, and my father-in-law was like, come on, Neil, you're 28. When are you getting married? And he was like, Grandad, are you having a laugh? I can't believe my mum and dad got married. I mean, I got married at 21. You know, it's such a young age. I couldn't even imagine my Neil being married at 28. You know, he actually talks to my in-laws so direct, and they get it and they love it. And they're like, no, you're right. You have to do what's right for you. So I honestly think, yes, we started the wheels in motion, but it's like anything, it's a bit of a ripple effect. The kids can see that I've got this fight. They've got more fight than I've ever had, and they've changed everything. It's that generation, and that's why it's so important for us to teach the young generation, educate them, because once that's in their blood, then they're going to teach their kids. Then it's teaching the whole community. You know, things have changed massively. It had to change.
And so how do you feel about your culture now compared to when you were a child? Because I know you mentioned that you were embarrassed, like at school. Has that changed? Has that shifted now? And what's shifted that for you?
Yeah, I was so embarrassed when I was younger. And it's massively changed because, I've learned to really be proud of who I am. I was only ashamed because I just felt I couldn't fit in and people weren't accepting of who I was culturally. But times have changed. People are more accepting. People want to, they find it interesting, learning about culture now. Even when my boys are around the house and the friends come over and they're like, oh, we love Indian food. Seema, can you make us a curry? Whereas before, if my friends came around the house, it was like, oh, what's that smell? And then, not that they were saying it in a negative way, I'd just be embarrassed thinking, oh my God, it's because that's what they don't do. It wasn't the norm. But now, growing up, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. I just wish when I was younger, I was proud of who I was instead of being ashamed, because I just culturally felt I didn't fit in with everyone else. I looked different. My parents looked different. I didn't understand why. And I'll give you a prime example. When I was at school, there was one boy in class who would pick on me for the colour of my skin. And I'm not going to lie, I had a monobrow and a bit of a tash going on at the time. But he was so mean to me, and he'd call me all sorts. And to the point where I wouldn't want to go into school. And you remember at school when you have to sit in alphabetical order? So, yeah, our surnames began with the same letter. So in every lesson we were sat together, and he'd be whispering in my ear, like, oh, did you not have a wash today? Or, oh my God, are you a man or a woman? And I hated myself. I was embarrassed. I'd go home saying to my mum, please, can I do my eyebrows? And she was like, no, don't mess with your eyebrows. And I wish I bloody hadn't, because bushy brows are in at the moment.
Which is so sad. Like, I think, honestly, I wonder what he's doing now. Like,
I'll tell you what he's doing now, because when I moved I lived in Lancashire, and then we came back to Cheshire, and I'd gone out. I was out in a nightclub with my girlfriends, and there was a group of lads, and they came over, and this one particular boy kept saying to me, can I buy you a drink? And it was cute. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll have a drink. So we got talking, and he said to me, what's your name? And I went, Seema. And his face kind of dropped, and then it just clicked to me. And he goes, where do you live? Have you always lived in Cheshire? And I was like, no, I used to live in Bury. And he went, what school did you go to? I told him the name of the school, and I said, what's your name? And he told me his name, and it was the same boy.
Oh my God.
And he literally wanted the ground to open up and eat him. And I went, do you know how you made me feel my whole life? It was you that made me not want to be who I was. You made me feel embarrassed of who I was, and you made my life hell.
And what did he say?
He actually cried. He said,
oh,
I am so sorry. He was upset because he said, it was lack of education.
Yeah.
His parents had brought him up that way. And, he was now training to be a policeman. And he was like, honestly, Seema, what can I do? And I said, well, what you can do is just educate. That's all you can do is educate. That it doesn't matter. We're all the same. It's just the colour of our skin. But underneath, we're all human.
So what's been the changing point for you doing this like self-discovery and realizing actually I don't want to do that anymore, and I want to do this, and I want to try this, and all these labels that have been put on you from a child, like you're a wife, you're a mum, and you do this and you have to do it a certain way. What's been that change for you?
I think 100%, you know, being a mother, being a wife, all these expectations, being a businesswoman, you know, doing reality TV, everything's expected of you to be a certain person. But, you know, what changes things is life. Life changes, life challenges. That's what's changed me. And, you know, and I've been through a lot myself in the last couple of years, you know, with the whole sort of transition of, you know, a business that I ran for 30 years. All of a sudden it stopped. But at the same time, I'm still filming a reality TV show where everyone's got an opinion. You know, I'm there in the public eye for people to point the finger at, but no one knows you better than you, you know, for everything that you're going through and how much it can take you to a dark place. So for me, all these life challenges has made me so much stronger. And I feel it's through that I found out who I am, what I want. I'm not scared. Yeah, people, you know, point the finger, oh, she's failed. No, I haven't. I've had 30 bloody great years running a business, you know, coming from a working class family, you know, used to drive to London in a shitty old white van, you know, driving to all these factories at 3 o'clock in the morning, coming back at midnight. I've worked really hard. I've achieved a lot. And when you find that inside and you realise, oh my God, my life has been one hell of a... I've had pinch me moments. I look back and I think, bloody hell, did we do that? Wow, I've had a great life. And now I just want to do things that are right for me. You know, I've ticked all the boxes for the family, for everyone, but now this is Seema's time. You know, I am going to do what's right for me.
So I get it a lot. People assume, like, when I start a business or I do certain things, that it's Russell funding it, or it's Russell. And it used to really bother me because I'm like, no,
Can I just say, I've known you a long time, and you and Russell. I think you're his little backbone, me.
Yeah, and he's mine. We're each other's, like you and
together.
Sandy.
And that's why I love you guys, because I see you bounce off each other. And that's what a relationship should be. You know, you should be both encouraging each other. You know, he might be good at something that you're not, but then he's going to pick you up.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. You know, and I actually think we're really lucky what we've got, because not many people have that.
No,
you know,
and I think people don't realise that. I find that a lot of people are just living their life on autopilot, and it's been something that I think I've done for many years. In my 20s, definitely, in the relationships I was in, it was always how to be the best for them. It was never for myself, and that's what I've started to do. But how, you know...
I think it's part of growing up. You know, we have to have these sort of life experiences. If I hadn't gone through what I did as a child, I think, you know, I wouldn't be where I am right now. You know, even meeting Sandeep, you know, then having the boys and, you know, the business experiences, you know, even doing a reality TV show, it has made me who I am today. And I think it's that fear. We're scared. We're scared to, like, you know, I didn't want to disrespect people. I had to follow this mould. It's breaking that mould and you creating your own path.
But does anybody ever assume things with you? Oh, you're on a TV show. Oh, you're just a housewife. Or, like, do people assume that you're just a housewife with no business? Like, how was it when you first joined the show? How were your family when you said, I've got this opportunity here? What were they like? Were they behind it? Were they a bit nervous for you?
Do you know, I was very hesitant when I got asked to do it. I got asked to do the show. We were at some charity event. All the girls were there, the original OGs of the Housewives. I didn't even know what it was. I'd never watched it. Didn't really watch that much telly, to be honest. So didn't have a clue. All I was told, it was about inspirational, aspirational, empowering women. And that just was music to my ears. I was like, do you know what? I want to do this. And not just do it for that. I knew this was going to be a massive challenge. You know, it's going to upset certain family members. They're not going to be behind me on this one. But I need to do it, one, for me, and two, for all other, you know, British Asian women. I wanted to just break that mould. That why can't we do it? Sometimes I feel like we're stereotyped into certain programs, you know, and for me, reality TV, it was a massive risk. But I think it was the best thing that I ever did, because it allowed me to use the platform to my advantage, one, for my business, two, for me as a person, and culturally. You know, I've talked about so many taboo subjects, which I don't even want to say culturally. I think for women in general, you know, going through, you know, life challenges as a woman, it's bloody hard. But to use this platform to create a narrative, you know, we did a whole documentary on the menopause. I could not believe so many young girls didn't even know what the menopause was. They were like, oh, what's that? You know, someone actually thought it was to do with men because it has the word men, menopause. And I was like, no, it's another stage in a woman's life. But we're not taught this at school, you know. So a lot of girls don't know what to expect. I didn't know, one, because I wasn't taught at school. And secondly, because culturally, it was, you know, a subject. Any women's issue was seen a bit dirty. You know, you don't talk about periods. You know, I could never spoke to my mum. My mum never spoke to my grandma about it. And when we did this documentary, I got my mum involved, and she loved it. And she was like, I was so alone, because we were just expected to get on with it. You know, go in the kitchen, cook a meal. I couldn't speak to your dad. I didn't know who to turn to. So she loved making this documentary. And now whenever she gets together with all her friends, she has this little kitty party that she goes to, a little lunch. All they talk about is menopause, boyfriends. They have open conversations that they would never have done before.
That's amazing. So that's all stemmed from like the documentary that you did?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, you know, I am actually very grateful for the show, because it's given me a platform, yes, one, for culturally, for young women out there, because I want them to have a voice. You know, we did a thing about breast screening. I didn't realise the amount of Asian and black women that don't go for breast screening because they're embarrassed. So my mum's gone for lunch with her friends, and it was really funny because all they talk about now is conversations that they would never have dreamt of having. You know, they talk about periods, menopause, you know, the grandkids, the girlfriends, the boyfriends. They have these open conversations, which is great. And my mum always says to me, you make me feel so proud, because she was that person. But when she got married into this huge, you know, traditional Indian family, she felt like she was taken back in time. And now she always says, you make me feel so proud, you know, when I see you talking about these subjects, because not only are we educating the younger generation, I've educated the older generation. It's given them a voice. They've got a voice.
You've opened your mum up, and you've opened her mind. You've given her confidence to be able to speak about those things.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's about. I know, like with my daughter, she's 8, and she's got people. We went out recently with some family friends, and their kids 9 and didn't know what periods were.
Wow.
And you know, Minna was speaking to me one day, like, what are periods? And you know, and what are these tampons? And so I talked to her about it. I show her how it's used. I explain, you know, the age, and when, you know, I just try and explain everything so it's not scary, and actually it's really normal. This is what's going to happen.
You have to explain.
Just be open about it and be like, there's nothing to be ashamed about. My mum was very open about it.
And I never had that conversation with my mum. So
there's still so many. It's not even like a cultural thing. So many British people that their parents like, no, we don't speak about that. Here's a book, you read it. And it's like, no, we need to be open about it. There's nothing to be ashamed about. And that's where fear comes into it, because when we're not open about it, we're like, oh, we can't ask that question. It's taboo. We mustn't talk about it.
It's actually really crazy to think, even in this day and age, kids aren't, you know, having that conversation at home.
So you've spoken today a lot about expectations and breaking the mould. So how was it when you went to your family and said, you know, I've got this opportunity to join a reality TV show. What happened there? You know, because that is breaking a whole mould, bringing British Asian into it all. How did it go?
Well, for those that don't know, I have been doing The Real Housewives of Cheshire now for nearly 10 years. It's our 10th anniversary actually next year. So I can't believe I've lasted that long. It was a shock.
Without killing someone as well. So well done. Bravo. You've done very well. Your patience has been tested.
Well, do you know what? You know me in out of the show and in the show. I'm just being me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really helped and probably why I've lasted. Just being that same
Definitely.
Seema.
People can see through the bullshit. When you're not being authentic, people can see straight through it. I think it's really important to be authentic, which you are. And like you say, that's exactly why you've lasted such a long time. So obviously you've just been giving us a background of where you're up to now. What's the next for you guys? Or do you not even know? Are you just seeing where it leads? What's your focus?
This is the first time, I'm nearly 53 years of age, that I've been able to focus on me. You know, prior to that, focusing being a wife, being a mother, running businesses, yes, doing the TV show. But this is the first time in my life where I am prioritising myself. I am number one. You know, it's all about Seema at the moment. So for me right now, I am on a sort of health journey, a wellness journey. And I've kind of got together with a really good friend of mine who helped me through what was probably my darkest days, you know, when the whole sort of transitioning of the business, you know, that stopped. I didn't feel good. I couldn't get out of bed. I was going through the menopause. All these different changes are going through my life. But then you're expected as a woman to get up the next morning and just be smiling and be happy. And I'd lost that. I'd lost my mojo for life. So I met my friend Louise, who is a nutritionist. And together we just worked on choosing a healthier lifestyle, healthier choices, exercising, you know, just getting out, going for walks. I've just tweaked things in my life. So I'm working on that at the moment. And we've set like a platform. It's called Intention. And it's all about, I just want to have good intentions in life.
Oh, I love that.
One for me. One, I want to teach the younger generation. I want to teach my boys to have good choices.
Do you know what? It's really hard to try and communicate things without it sounding really wanky, isn't it? You know, like being mindful and conscious. And and also one of the things that's really shifted for me is I used to get really annoyed with people, or, you know, like if I would do something for them and they didn't necessarily do it back, I would be like, oh, you know, I would do this. Why haven't they done it? And now I'm like, my relationships with people have changed now, whereas before I might be offended by something, but maybe they didn't have the intention to hurt me. Maybe they have no idea.
I feel exactly the same. I don't really care what anyone thinks anymore. Because when you find you and you really like who you are, I actually really love the Seema that I am. And do you know, once you love who you are, do you really care?
No.
I don't care if no one appreciates what I'm saying or what I'm doing. The most important thing now is me.
Yeah.
And I like what I'm feeling. It feels good inside. And when you get to that point, you don't really give a toss about anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, and that's them. And you know what? They'll get to a point in life where life will change them. It's all life experiences that take you to where you are. But once you find you, I promise you it's the best feeling.
So me and Russ talk about all different stuff like this. And I remember saying something to him and he just said to me, what are you bothered about? Do you think they did it on purpose? Do you think they did it to hurt you? Do you think they did it to upset you? And I was like, no, I didn't. I know they didn't do that. And he said, well, let it go then. Yeah. What are you thinking about it for? And just like that simple sentence, it just changed it. I was like, oh yeah. So I now look at people's intention. Did they do it on purpose? If they did, then that's a different story. Do I want that person in my life? But if they didn't, and I tell them, most people would be mortified and go, oh God, I didn't realise that. Sorry. Do you know what I mean?
I think,
it's about learning that.
I've learned as well, and I do a lot of this. I kind of feed my brain with all... I think I've got the answers already. I think, oh my God, they're thinking this. Oh, what if they don't like me? Oh, they must hate me. But do I really care? So what?
Do you still think that now?
No, I used to.
Yeah.
I used to do it all the time. Worry all the time to what people think. But now, why am I worried?
But I also think I really talk, again, to Minna, I talk about self-love because naturally, cause she's quite negative sometimes. So I've, from a young age, I've been really, pumping in this positivity talk and we read a lot, and now we turn it into a joke. If she says something negative, I'll, get down and give me 20, say it, and she'll go, I love myself, and she'll do it, and we make a joke out of it. But, you've got to start them young.
Of course you do.
But I think it's taken away that association with I love myself as being arrogant or selfish, or putting myself first is seen as selfish. No, putting myself first, which is what I've done this year, has been the best thing for me. And I think when you do love yourself, you do, like, you literally glow happy. Like when I think of you, I always think of your smile, because you're just always so smiley, and you're not fazed by anything.
No, listen, I'm not sat here saying I've got it all sussed, I'm the best person, I love myself. What I'm trying to say is I just take a day as it comes. Yeah. Every day there's another challenge. I'm not saying my life's all rosy, there's ups and downs, it's life. But it's just knowing it's fine. It's fine if it goes wrong, it's fine if it's good. It's fine.
Yeah.
Life is so precious. We only have one chance at it, and we've just got to make the most of it.
How would you define success?
Oh, wow. For me, success is, I feel my failure was my success. That's what I will say. When you're at the top, it's all great. But I actually will say, when it's actually gone wrong, that's when it's made me the better person. And where I am right now, and we've had like the hardest 2 years, to rebuild something that you've had for 30 years, which I was like, oh my gosh, how the hell are we going to do it? But I'm doing it. I'm living it. I'm breathing it. I'm working it out day by day. It was that has led me to feel that this is my success now, because I found myself. Maybe all them years I thought I knew who I was, but I obviously didn't. So
is there anything that you still want to do in life, or anything new that you want to try that maybe little Seema's saying, oh no, Seema, don't do that? Is there anything that you're like, I really want to try that, but maybe I can't do that, or I shouldn't do that? Or
the way I feel right now, nothing's holding me back, because at the moment I feel like I've got this fire inside that I can do everything and anything. I want to travel more. I want to help people. That's what I want to do. It's not even about making money now. I want to kind of make a difference. I would like to do, and I know this is like so cliche when people say I want to do more charitable work, but if I can just go and help someone or something, I'm not quite sure yet, I want to just get out there. I want to help people. That's what I want to do. I want to make a difference, because it's not even about now, I want loads of money. I'm a bit bored of all that.
It doesn't bring happiness.
It doesn't bring happiness. And I see it with friends. I've seen it with myself. And what I find right now, less is more. The simple things in life right now for me is what makes me feel at the happiest. And I don't feel like anything's going to hold me back. I'll keep going. I'm not going to be, that person that's never going to do anything. I'll always find something.
And do you think that everyone has a purpose? And if you do you think that you found yours, or you're still discovering that?
I'll still discover it. I think I'll always need a purpose. I think the day I say I haven't got a purpose, then what's the point of living?
Yeah.
There's got to be a purpose in life. Otherwise, I wouldn't know what would be the reason to get out of bed. You need a purpose every day. I need to have something to get up for and fight for and work for. I will always have a purpose.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Taking your time to come and have a chat with me.
I loved it.